Happy Ali, who is a spiritual coach, a hypnotherapist, an author.
I was so curious as to what your definition was of Be the Train. True creativity is when you create something that has never been there before. But we come with this eternal source that has no limitation, that has no basically boundaries.
Our last movie was out in 250 theaters nationwide. And I wrote it and I produced it and I started it. My husband directed it. But the first draft of it was written in 48 hours, which is so interesting to me when you talk about like soul tapping, because it literally did feel.
I woke up with the entire book downloaded, and it ended up being 29 chapters, but 15 of it was the base outline was done. And the details were already done. It was all in my head. But here's the thing. If you don't act on it and write it down right away, it's like a dream that will fade. Inspiration is just like a dream.
Welcome back to Be the Train podcast. I'm super excited today. I have a really interesting guest, Happy Ali, who is a spiritual coach, a hypnotherapist, an author, and also a coach and teacher. And I will have him talk more about all the stuff that he does, and we'll learn about all the creative processes of getting to where he is.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
I'm excited to kind of dive in deep because I know your book's called Be the Train and your podcast is called Be the Train. And I was so curious as to what your definition was of Be the Train as I came up with my own ideas of what Be the Train was.
Yeah. Well, first, I'd love to hear what you think Be the Train was.
Well, I always think of a train as something that is moving relentlessly with a very single trajectory. It doesn't veer off. It kind of has a very strong motive. It goes where a locomotive. It knows exactly where it's going, and no one can stand in its way. And if it does, it will crush them. So to me, being the train means know what you want, move forward, don't let anything stop you, and get to where you want to go and know where you want to go in advance. Because if a train cannot go anywhere if it doesn't have the rails already set in motion. So that's what I think it means. But what does it mean?
Well, yes, to everything you just said. And then also one of the reasons why I called the book Be the Train is because I think a lot of times in life we're waiting for the train being the opportunity that's going to take us to our destination. And conceptually, I believe that you can't wait for the train. You actually have to be the train. You have to be the opportunity that other people want to jump on too. But I think everything you said actually is really relevant to that.
I say the same thing, and I say be the star.
Yeah.
So let the other people orbit you.
Yes.
As opposed to orbiting others.
Yes.
So I think I have a very similar concept in my mind, but it's a different metaphor. I always say be the star. Let people orbit you. Be the stronger magnetic force.
Yeah. You have to be a force.
If you're not the force, then you're basically just the moon. I said, don't be the moon, be the sun.
I love that.
The sun's always shining, but the moon can, go dark.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to learn about what you do because this podcast is actually for anyone that is in a creative field. And a big part of what I'm doing here is trying to open up what different creative careers can look like and what it takes to actually make a life doing something in a creative career. And I feel like everything I know about you so far, and I'm very excited to learn more, is super creative, super interesting, taking spirituality and hypnosis and writing a book. I think you said you even wrote 2 books. So I'm so curious first, if you could just tell us a little bit about, expand on what you do. And then I want to deep dive a little bit on how you got here.
I was always a creative being. I'm an artist. I draw, I paint, I write, I do anything that's creative. So I dance. but not professionally. But everything I do is creative and my soul is creative. But I'm one of those people that's equally right-brained and left-brained, which makes it very interesting as a creative person because you're not only using your creative side, but you're also using your logical side, which can make it actually difficult to just pursue your creativity. And I think there's a huge misconception about the idea that if you want to be creative, you can't be logical, that you're either one or the other.
Yeah.
And I was never that. So I wasn't the person who just knew I only had to dance or I only had to write or I only had to draw. I always knew that there was, I was into mathematics, I was into writing, so many things that didn't feel like they were part of the creative process.
Yeah.
So that made it very difficult. And I really feel that we have different parts of our brain. Our inner dialogue comes from different sources. There is our soul dialogue that is very creative in nature. So our inner being, our soul, our true nature as an eternal being is creative by nature. Because let's say it's your God force, it's the thing that created the universe. And that is creative in nature. That's one source of our inner dialogue, that guides us. And then there's the other part of us, which is our human brain, what I call the human software, and our instincts, which I call the human hardware, that are basically designed to run like programs. And what they can predict is only based on what they've seen before, which is not creativity. It's synthesizing. It's putting things together that have already existed. And although that seems creative because, you're inspired by this or that and you put something together and yes, that's creativity. But true creativity is when you create something that has never been there before. And I believe that our society, our nature is to tap into our human software and human hardware and use that as the criteria to think and to create. But we come with this eternal source that has no limitation, that has no basically boundaries as to what it can make and it can create. And if you ask any musician, any artist, any person who has created anything, written a script or directed a movie or something that was just never there before, they say, I saw it in a dream, I saw it in a vision, I saw it. So that to me is creativity, and I call that soul tapping, tapping to your soul. But most people tend to just kind of not take risks and not do things that are not guaranteed and not do things that are guaranteed. And because they are what I call cold tapping. It's they're tapping into their trauma or their drama or what they've seen before.
And they're scared.
And they're scared because they want to do what has been proven to be successful in the past.
Well, it's interesting. So it's really interesting you say that. So we make movies. That's what we do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. My husband and I have a production company together, and we've made 3 feature films, among a lot of other things. But our last movie was out in 250 theaters nationwide. And I wrote it and I produced it and I started it. My husband directed it. And that movie, the first draft of it, granted, we did some outlining for a while, but the first draft of it was written in 48 hours, which is so interesting to me when you talk about like soul tapping, because it literally did feel like my body. Well, I had to leave my house because I have 2 small children, but I went to Joshua Tree for 48 hours and literally wrote an entire script. And I think that what's interesting about life is that there are moments of inspiration like that, and it can be really easy to not tune in because it's because life's just happening to you all the time and you're a little bit in like an autopilot. But to actually feel the soul tapping coming in and let it and partake in it, and then you can have just something kind of come through you, which is a really unique, interesting experience that's happened to me a few times. But I look now at these moments and go I gave myself permission to let it come through. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's channeling. You're channeling the higher intelligence. My last book that I wrote, it was called The Intuition Bible, How and Why to Tap into Your Inner Wisdom, was downloaded to me overnight, 15 whole chapters.
Wow.
I had no intention of writing that book. I was writing a book called The Heart Lens, and I had mapped that out and worked on it for months and months and months. And I felt stuck, and I something inside of me said, you're not supposed to write this book, that there's other people who can do it better than you. And instead of taking that as an insult, I sat down and I said, a universe, gods, spirit guides, whatever you are, tell me what the world needs to hear, or tell me what they're gonna need to hear maybe in the future.
Yeah.
And let me be a pure conduit of whatever it is that needs to come through. Because I truly believe that humanity has requests, and we have a collective request. We send it out, the universe drops that in the atmosphere, the answer, and then the people that tap in will receive that answer, and then whoever acts on it first gets to get the credit for it.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why when someone comes up with the idea, like for example, the automobile was created by Ford, but at the same time, they found out that at the same time, all across the world, other people came up with the idea as well. But the one who acted on it was Ford.
I love what you're saying. It's so interesting because, again, back to being the train, and a lot of what I stand for is like, I think that the doing part of any idea is actually the hardest part, because you can get tapped into something, an idea, but it's actually really easy to not do anything about it, because that's the hardest part, is to be like, now that I have this idea, what am I going to do? I have to actually go do something about it. And that requires like a change in your life and planning and figuring it out and taking big risks, like you just said. And so that's so interesting. So how did you get tapped into this idea for this book?
Well, I woke up with the entire book downloaded, and it ended up being 29 chapters, but 15 of it was the base outline was done. And the details were already done. It was all in my head. But here's the thing. If you don't act on it and write it down right away, it's like a dream that will fade. Inspiration is just like a dream, because you're tapping into something greater, and then you're caught in the mundane tasks of life, which is the five senses. And if you don't write that thing down right now, right as you get it, to where you have it, it will fade. It will fade. It has to fade. Or the purity of it, the strength of it, the intensity will go away.
Yeah, I have an idea right now. It's really funny. That's why I'm looking at the camera, because I feel like I'm looking at my husband. But I have an idea right now that we've been really excited about. And I feel like we've been getting really busy with life, and we keep not sitting down. And I'm like,
write it down.
we need to.
Well, you want to write it down long enough for it to have its essence on paper.
Yeah.
So if you just write the idea really quick and it doesn't have its essence in there, you won't be able to pick it back up. But if you write enough that its essence is transferred onto the paper, later when you're in another quiet mode or mood, you can read it and reignite that essence.
Yeah.
Because it's already encrypted into the writing. So I always say, write it down. And there's so many times where at 3 a.m, I get this amazing idea, amazing name for something, amazing title.
Yeah.
And I say, I'll remember this in the morning.
Yeah. And then you don't.
Never.
You know what's so interesting? So that happens to me too. And specifically with this idea. So, and it's so interesting that you're talking about this, because actually we've done so many episodes and no one's brought this up yet. But I feel like these little downloads. So whenever I'm in an inspiration mode, I will get woken up a lot, like at 3 a.m, 5 a.m, where I'm like, and it's little ideas, but I have to like write them down. And lately I've been doing this thing where I need to stop doing, where I'm like, no, I'm so tired. Because I'm so tired. I'm like, I'm just going to deal with it in the morning. And then you're right, because I wake up and I'm like, what was that thing? There was something really good. It was so good. And I can't remember it. And so now I'm thinking like I want to give myself permission to just like wake up and be tired and write the idea down.
I do this thing now because, the voice memo app on my phone will transcribe what it is.
Oh.
So I have my phone always near me, which is the biggest no-no, electromagnetic field or whatever it is, the energy that's around, signals, you're not supposed to have it. But my phone's always near me, and I will quickly push the button and I'll whisper into it whatever I need to. Because once I wake up, I can't fall back asleep.
Yeah.
But I'll get as much as I can out. And then the next day, I will pull out the transcript, put it in ChatGPT and say, clean it up. and it will clean it up.
Yes.
So we have so many tools now that we didn't used to have.
Yes.
I think having a tape recorder like back in the day would be easiest because you just push the button and you have to unlock it and all this stuff. But still, it's easier than having to pick up a pen and write it out because then you have to turn on the lights and do all that stuff. So there's so many tools. I'm a prophetic dreamer, so I dream stuff in advance. And a lot of the important dreams that I have are, when I wake up, I remember them. Well, the really important ones, I remember them no matter what. But I will have to write them down or put them down, because if something wakes me up and it's, feels like it's true and it's a premonition, I have to write it down, because I need to write it down. I need to have it on record so that when it happens, I can be like, okay, so this is how it was. Back. And I dreamed deaths and births and and everything. I dreamt the birth of all my children. I met them years before they were born.
Wow.
Like in detail. One of my sons passed away in 2014 when he was 4, and I got to see, I knew about his death months prior.
What? So how did
he died in a car accident, which was incredible, with his mother, which was my best friend. And it was amazing because, not that he died, it was amazing because I got to get a preview that somebody was going to die. 2 people were going to die 2 months in advance. And when it happened, because it was a car accident, there was so much that, goes through the head of someone who's grieving about, I should have done this, I could have done that. But there was something about having multiple dreams about this happening, this incident, especially in the morning before the accident happened, that made me feel like, okay, everything's meant to happen. This was not something I could stop. This was something that was, and then I was lucky enough to have my son continue to visit me every night after he died and guide me towards the birth of my twins and introduce me to them and tell me how I was going to do that, have them, because I'm gay and it's not that easy to have children.
And you've had 4.
4.
So, let's talk about that for a minute. How did you do that?
It's one of those things where I had a near-death experience when I was 17, and I downloaded a lifetime's worth of information, and this is in 1995, and I knew my purpose. I knew I was supposed to save the world, help the world, and be a beacon of light and be of service to humanity. And I understood karma, reincarnation, the secret to happiness so much that it was just the most incredible thing that ever happened to me. And so many people thought I was just making it up or it was just a phase or something. And I was like, you know what? It's not true. And then I just became so happy that people that I meet, they would be like, your name should be Happy. And I thought, that's a good way to tattoo this time of my life onto my, not on my body, but on my documents.
Interesting.
And I thought, so my name, just anyone who loved me knew me, my name became Happy, and soon it became legally Happy. This is, almost 30 years ago. It's actually 30 years to the month. And I chose to legally, not professionally, change my name to Ali Happy instead of Happy Ali, so that my children would be the happy family, because I wanted the legacy to live on. But anyone that knows me, that loves me, and that's not a telemarketer, calls me Happy. But anyone that's a telemarketer
calls you Ali.
Ali. It's like, it makes me cringe, but I love Ali. It means it means exalt, like it's related to God and all this stuff. And to me, it's like my 2 religions. One's like the universe and God is Ali, and then Happy is my true religion. So that was the beginning. But as people talked me out of living my purpose, they said, you're too young. No one's going to listen to you. So then I thought, okay, I'll become a makeup artist. They said, you're an artist. You can draw faces. You're amazing. I said, all right, I'll do that. And because I still made people feel good by making them feel pretty.
Yeah.
And I think I lost my way, and I was going through the 9 to 5 or whatever, 10 to 7 or whatever it was. And I was partying, I was having a good time, and I kind of lost my true purpose, even though I'd written many books, volumes, but it wasn't being published. It was just written down. And I had a dream that I was told that I was supposed to have a son. And I thought, I'm not having a son. I'm like a 28-year-old kid that's having a fun. Yeah. Like, how am I going to have a son? I don't even have money to pay my bills.
Yeah.
And then they showed me my lesbian best friend and her wife, and she was pregnant and she was going into labor, and it was all in a dream. And her wife sat her down and pulled out this baby and said, this is your son. And I remember holding that baby and thinking, wow, this is probably the most wonderful feeling I've ever had, because the first time you hold especially your first child, it is just ridiculous. I mean, I can't explain it. And I woke up with that feeling.
And you were like, I need to be a dad.
Well, I didn't really, I don't like to force things. I like things to happen naturally. So I called my best friend in the morning and said, hey, we're having a baby. It's a boy. She's like, no way. It's not true. It's not going to happen. And then 6 months later, her and her wife came to me and said, hey, we already have our daughter, which was my goddaughter. And we want you to donate sperm. And I said, I don't want to donate sperm. I want to be a dad. And I will give you mine in a little cup. You do whatever you want to do with it. If it turns out to become a baby, that's our child. And I will also adopt your daughter, which was already my goddaughter.
Yeah.
So that they both have a father. And sure enough, on Valentine's Day, I gave them the cup. And November 8th of that year, the same year, we had our son Sky, and I ended up with 2 children.
Wow.
So that was how it became the first time. And what happened, so the reason I'm saying this is my soul guided me to have this child and to have these children. And because it was my soul doing it, I feel like it was putting me back on my path. Because as soon as I became a father, I started thinking, what's my legacy? What am I leaving behind? Am I following my dream? What am I going to teach these children? And I went and I taught a lecture on the law of attraction. It was a 4-hour lecture. And I felt so alive that I had to go and quit my job and enroll in school and get my psych degree and do all this stuff. And as soon as right before I got into UCLA, my son died. And I thought, this is messed up. Yeah. I am like, what am I doing? And then he just showed up and said, hey, you're supposed to have more kids. Keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Wow.
And then guided me towards having this life. And I think that's all a guidance from my soul. I don't think I would have deliberately done any of the stuff that I did. And I would probably be still at a rave somewhere.
Yeah.
But my soul called me. It spoke to me and I listened.
So for people who are listening, how does someone differentiate like what a soul calling feels like versus like, we also have a voice in our head that's like, you're not good enough. Don't try this. Why would you do that? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, how do you know what's your soul speaking to you with some truth versus like the voice that's stopping you or maybe like doesn't have the best you in mind?
So there's 3 things that I want to mention. One is figuring out the attributes of the soul and of the mind.
Yeah.
The soul is eternal, expansive. It is not about, it has no ego. It's all about one and all. We're all one, and we're here to uplift each other and raise each other's energy. And it has a very collective consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's about expansion, and it's about creativity and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it knows your potential. It knows that anything's possible. So that's the attributes of what the soul's voice is. And then in order for it to have a human experience, it created a body, a mind that would forget everything that it knows. So the mind is very much about me, individuality, self, comparison, about it only knows based on what's happened before. It can only calculate based on what it's seen. And it has almost the opposite attributes of that oneness. So it's a very isolated, I'm alone, I'm not enough. There's so many qualities. If you think about it, is this a soul quality? Is it what a godlike force would say? Or is this something that a limited mind, which I call the 5th grader versus the sage, which one is the one speaking? And you always know based on one thing, and that's how it makes your body feel. Is it making you contract? Is it making you expand? When your soul speaks, when I say you are full of love, you're a wonderful person, you're a great parent, you've done your best, you open up, you relax. When I say, you know what, you yelled at your kid, why are you being like this? You don't know, you're not a good mother, you would need to know to do more. I say things like that, you're going to contract.
Yeah.
So you're going to feel small. Is it making you feel small? Is it making you feel big? So it's really important to listen to your body, because your body is a printout of the reaction of what the inner dialogue is. So am I contracting or am I expanding? Am I working based on fear, anger, sadness, because those are ego-driven. And even pride. So people are like, well, pride makes me feel good. But I said, does it make you feel like an individual, or does it make you feel like a collective?
Yeah.
So if pride, it says, I'm better than you, might make me feel good for the moment.
Yeah.
But it's still an individualized feeling.
Yeah.
Therefore, that's your mind.
Yeah.
So that's how I always tell people. I say, if you truly understand the characteristics of the soul, and you understand how your body reacts to the soul's voice, you'll always know when it's the soul. So I always say, like, I was having a rough day the other day. My old bad habits had kicked in, and I was just having an extra couple of drinks and being hungover the next day. And it was like 3 days in a row. And I thought, God, I'm what the heck's wrong with me? Like, what's wrong with me? And then all of a sudden I'm like, am I cold tapping or soul tapping? Am I tapping into my trauma, which is the coal?
Yeah.
Or am I tapping to my soul? And I thought, I'm cold tapping. And I thought, okay, if I'm cold tapping, let's put it in its place. Pretend it's a 5th grader teaching me algebra. Are you gonna listen?
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna listen. I'm gonna listen to the professor teaching me algebra. And what does my soul say? My soul says, no, you are a wonderful human having a tough day.
Yeah. And that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I think sometimes when you do something like bad, or that doesn't energetically align, or that, creates shame, then there's like a layer of anger about having had that experience. Then there's like a layer on top of that that's like, what's wrong with me? Why do I get angry about everything? Then there's like it's like you keep adding like layers of negative emotion on top of negative emotion, because it's not just the thing that you felt, it's how you feel about how you felt. And then it's how you dealt with how you felt. And then, you know what I'm saying? And it's so funny, because even like as I'm raising my son right now, one of the biggest things that I'm trying really hard to do is to give him permission to feel whatever he feels. And sometimes that's really hard, because I want him to be happy. I want him to be happy all the time. But that's not what the human experience is about. It's actually about being okay in whatever you're feeling, and not getting so uncomfortable about having a negative feeling, and just knowing like, it's okay to be frustrated, and you'll come out of this frustration. And I'm not uncomfortable when you're frustrated. You're allowed to be frustrated. For as long as you're frustrated, you'll move through that. Do you know what I'm saying?
They move through it so fast.
Yeah.
Too.
But they move through it faster, I think, when we give them permission to just experience it. Like, I think so much of what we've been taught as parents, or at least how I was parented, because I think we have a lot more information now than we used to have, was like, stop the negative emotion immediately. It's like, you're not happy. Everyone's so uncomfortable. Just be happy again. Stop crying. Stop being mad. Stop you know what I'm saying? And it's like, actually, someone trying to stop it doesn't stop it. You just have to move through it and be like, it's okay. I get to be mad, and then I was mad and now I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm like,
absolutely.
And not adding like all the layers on top of it of like what it means and how I feel and who's upset about it. You know what I'm saying?
So going back to what you said earlier about us doing something wrong and then having a reaction to it and having a reaction to the reaction, I always tell people, have non-judgment observation, non-judgmental observation. Any client that works with me, that's week 1. Whatever it is you've been doing and you've been beating yourself up about it, have a neutral step out of the body. Watch yourself as your child, as someone that is not you, and don't judge it. Allow it to be.
Yeah.
Allow that person, or whether it's your child or whether it's your inner child or whatever it is, to have that experience without you judging it. Yeah. Because judging it already puts you in this negative feedback loop. And then when it comes to your children, the reason that adults have trauma, and trauma is on the spectrum, is when we have something that causes negative emotion within us that we are not giving time and resources to process. Because we don't give time and resources to process the negative thing that we're experiencing, the body says, okay, now I have to push this down in the body, put it on loop in the body, and deal with it later when there's time and resources. And that in the body becomes the the trauma. And we, as parents that are unaware, teach our children how to develop trauma, because we don't give them the opportunity to process their emotions. Now, I don't like listening to my kid have a tantrum. I'm going to be honest. So I say, I have a son named Dario, and who's the master of, stomping his feet and throwing himself. He's 8 now, so it's a lot easier. But, when he was younger, and I'd say, Dario, this is your bedroom. Go in there. Have a field day. Have all your emotions. When you're ready to be in a way that I can be, and because I love you, I will hug you, I will kiss you, but I want you to go and process everything. When you feel like you're back to normal and I can reason with you, come back.
Yeah.
And then he would just disappear for about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, doesn't matter. And then he'd be like, I'm ready now. Yeah. And then he would come back out.
Yeah.
And I didn't take, and my mother used to just take them and hold them and rub them. And then they learn that, okay, if I have a negative emotion or if I have a tantrum, then I get all these hugs and loves and all this stuff. So let me do it 20 times more. So, but when they learn that I allow them and I give them space to process their emotions, and I'm not going to dictate how they do it, then they do it however is
Well, it's interesting. I feel like I'm doing a combo platter where I basically give my son a choice and I go like, would you like a hug or would you like some space? Would you like to go to your room and just get it out? Whatever you need is kind of available. And he kind of picks and chooses depending on what kind of tantrum he's having. But he's a pretty reasonable guy. Knock on wood. But it is interesting because it's like, I think the biggest thing being a parent is like reparenting yourself in a way and like figuring out how to give yourself permission to be okay with someone being uncomfortable or someone being sad or someone being, all those things that you didn't give yourself permission to do yourself. You know what I mean? Like I, as a child, did not feel like it was okay to just be sad. Like I had to pull it together for everybody. And so like rewiring my own kind of thoughts around it and being like, he's 5 years old. He's allowed to be, like I said, he couldn't eat a cookie and he wants one. That's frustrating. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that makes sense. Yeah, it's okay. But so on a career level though, for anyone who's listening, what would you say? So for anyone who's looking to become a coach or become an author, or like, what would you say were some of the bigger steps that you had to take? Like, how did you have to be the train in your own life? Were there any moments where you had to kind of create these opportunities for yourself? And what did those look like?
Gosh, it's really hard because if you have a successful career and you're trying to pivot, it's scary. And I just had a workshop where an audience member came up and said, hey, I really want to do this, but I feel like I'm gonna not be able to provide for my family. And I thought, stop having the and or mentality. Start having the and mentality.
Yeah.
Do what you're doing and then devote some extra time to the thing that you want to be doing.
Yeah.
So go through the motions of your everyday life and then, put 3 hours aside a day, 2 hours aside a day to focus on the new thing and make sure that whatever it is exciting you. Some people will say that I don't have those 2 hours. I say, well, if it's something that's truly, bubbling within you, you are going to want to stay up and do it because you're like, you don't want to go to sleep.
Well, and also you'll make, and this is like side tangent, but very relevant. I recently started working out every single day. And I will sometimes work out for 2 hours a day. And I remember literally a year ago, because I had never been this person, I remember saying to other people, who has time for that? Like, there's no way you can find time for that. But the thing is, you can find time for it. You just have to reprioritize your life. You just have to change your priorities a little bit in terms of what's worth spending your time on and how your time goes, right? So it's like, if you really care about this new career, then it's worth spending time on.
Yeah, and if it's making you uncomfortable, don't do it at that moment. Find a way to do it where it is, you can relax into it, you can do it. But one of the huge maybe obstacles that people have is that they don't change their identity before they start changing their behavior. So you want to say, like, for example, as an author, there's not enough time to write a book. A book is a hard process.
Yeah.
But the minute I said I was an author, and I was a published author, and I just said it. I said, I'm a published author. Then I had no choice but to write, because what does an author do?
Yeah.
They write. They don't just keep going around saying I'm an author.
No, well, and that's actually one of the things that's in one of my chapters of my book, is literally claiming who you are before you start, because you raise the stakes
You do.
for yourself.
Yeah,
know?
I am fit is
Yeah.
one of those things. If you're someone who's fit,
Yeah.
then you are going to do it.
Yeah.
Now, it's really important to have a vision.
Yeah.
If you do not have a vision and you're just sick of where you are, that's called away from motivation.
Yeah.
So as soon as you are, let's say, I'm going to use weight as an example, although
Okay.
we're talking about career, we're talking about something else, but this really makes it make sense a little bit more.
Okay.
If you're sick of being fat, okay, and you start working out, as soon as you drop a few pounds and you get an extra couple of notches in your belt and you're excited, you lose the momentum to work out. You're like, oh, okay, I did this, and you start eating again. And you stop working out again. But if your goal is toward motivation to be someone who has a six-pack or can fit a size 6 or whatever pants or whatever it is, if that is your motivation, the closer you get to the end result, the more motivated you get.
Yeah.
So the more you make time, the more it feels exciting, the more you feel motivated to do what you want to do. And that's toward motivation. So if you're really trying to change your careers, you have to see yourself as what you want to be. And when you see yourself as, let's say, the artist that you are, the fit person that you are, the author that you are, the coach that you are not going to give up till you hit that point.
Yeah.
My name is Happy, right? So my identity is happy.
Yeah.
So when my son died, you can only imagine how unhappy I was. And I remember back then it was Facebook, and Facebook, my name was Happy right there. And I would look at that and I would feel ashamed.
Yeah.
And I had to change my name to Hap for a while, and then realized one day that half my name was missing, and that felt uncomfortable. Yeah. So I put my name back to Happy and said, there's nothing in this world that's going to stop me from reclaiming my identity, no matter what has happened to me. Yeah. And because it was my identity, I took every opportunity to find myself back to Happy. Not only find myself back to Happy, but but teach it. Yeah. Become the example. You know how many people of parents of dead children call me on a regular basis? I get so many phone calls of like, what do I do? I'm like, listen, it's going to get better, but who do you want to be? Who are you? What's your identity? Are you the artist? Are you the happy person? Who are you? Are you here to be of service? And honestly, if you do anything in your career just for the sake of your own personal success, it's going to get stale someday. If you do your art, your creativity, your coaching, your writing, whatever it is for the purpose of uplifting others and to be of service for others, you're channeling not only your own energy, but the energy of all the people who are going to be benefited by you. Yeah. So it's almost like, the universe is on your side.
Wait, I have a question for you because you said this earlier. You said when you were 17, you were downloaded a lot of things, including The Secret to Happiness. Mm-hmm. What is it?
The secret to happiness. It's silly how simple it is. It's perspective. That's all it is. So it is.
It is really good.
It's so simple. It's so simple. I remember being somebody who had just almost lost his life and thinking, wow, so yesterday and the day before, I could have focused on the things that were great in my life, or I could have focused on the things that were crappy in my life. Because I believe that in all our lives and in the universe, in the country, in the world, 50% of the stuff is good and 50% of the stuff is bad. I believe in full balance, duality, night and day. Yeah. But I believe it takes you, just you, to tip the scale. So if the world or your life, if you want it to be good, then you have to be the good that tips the scale. And so
I like that.
Be that last grain that will tip the scale. You know, in my life right now, I can look at certain things and feel crappy. You know, I've been single for so long by choice, but it's lonely at night when I go to bed and my children are downstairs and I don't want to leave them to go out and party or meet people or go on a date and miss out on my children. I could really dwell on the fact that I'm single. Or I could think about these miraculous children that I have that hug me and love me and kiss me all over the place and tell me how amazing I am and can't imagine their lives without me because they haven't gone through puberty yet, the little ones. Or my daughter who doesn't live with me. And yesterday I was at home and you know, she doesn't live with me, but all of a sudden she was in my living room and I said, did you call me? Let me know you're coming. She's like, no. She's like, I just missed you, you know? And I thought, these are the things I can focus on, or I can focus on what I don't have at the moment.
Yeah.
Or the deadline that I have for my new book that's not work, that I'm behind on, or whatever it is. So it all
perspective is everything.
Perspective is the only key to happiness, and also recognizing your state.
Well, and also, sorry to add to that, one of the things I always tell myself too is like, there are moments, for example, let's say like in a friendship where someone isn't doing for me something that I would do for them, right? Or something like that. And I think about this a lot, which kind of reminded me of what you were saying about you being the tipping point towards good. I kind of tell myself like, I want to be a good friend because that's who I am. I don't need someone else. It's not tit for tat. It's me being the person I want to be in this life. And I know what that looks like for me. And what it looks like for me is maybe doing something for someone that can't do it for me, or lifting someone up when maybe they can't lift me up, or giving someone a compliment who could maybe never give me a compliment, and knowing that that's okay. It's not about, like keeping tabs, or it's like, if I could tip it a little more towards good, if I could be a little positivity in someone's life when they need it, and maybe that person really needed it, and maybe that person can't handle handing it out in this moment. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. And the truth is, people do the best that they can with the resources that they have.
Yeah.
And they're always doing that.
Yeah.
And I have a best friend who is always complaining about me because we have different love languages. Yeah. And he is somebody who likes the house clean and everything to be perfect. And when he comes over, all he does is clean my house. And I want him, and my love language is quality time, and his is service.
Yeah.
So he comes over, he starts cleaning my house, but I want him to lay next to me in my bed and just talk.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do that because for him, what he's doing is
he's helping you.
He's doing what I need and thinks I need. And I think that he needs more quality time. So I want him to do that. And then there was a point where I realized, oh, our friendship is based on us being the best friends we can be for each other, and really not trying to make people fit your mold. Or my mother, for example, this is a physical example. I always like to give examples that are not exactly the same, just so people can get a visual of it. She has a hard time opening up water bottles because of her arthritis. So I'm always opening up all her water bottles. But if I expect her to say, how come she's not opening up my bottles? Without considering the fact that she has arthritis, then I would have a problem with our relationship.
Yeah.
And there's
because you have to know where she's sitting and where she's standing in order to really comprehend what she's capable of.
And what I love about what you said is that you have to be the person that you want to be. Like, I have an ex right now who's having a really hard time with who he thinks I am.
Yeah.
And spewing a lot of hate at me. And I am genuinely not a hateful person. I'm a loving person. Everything I've ever done was from love.
Yeah.
And a part of me wants to get mad.
Yeah.
And retaliate.
Yeah.
Because that feels good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then as soon as I say, God, I hope and I catch myself and I said, wait a minute, the feelings and the emotions that bubbled up within me are not comfortable for me. Mine are love. So I catch myself and I say, I hope he finds himself.
Yeah.
I hope he loves himself.
I hope he finds peace.
I hope he finds peace. And then I hope that is what resolves our issues, not I hope he gets hit by a truck.
Yeah. I agree.
Because that's what I originally wanted to say.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a tit for tat.
Yeah. But
then I realized my heart is filled with hatred all of a sudden.
And that's not who you want to be.
That's not who I am.
Yeah. Last question.
Okay.
What would you say is a piece of advice, like the biggest piece of advice you would give to someone listening that's either trying to start their career in coaching or related to spirituality? Or what would you have told yourself, whatever you prefer?
Well, I would like to give the advice to everyone, including myself, is expect to fail.
Okay.
Because every time you fall, you learn how to get up.
Yeah.
And every time you learn how to get up, not only do you earn your own respect, but others. Yeah. And also, there's no one in this world, other than a few lucky people, that made it to where they are without falling. And the only people who succeed are the ones who choose to get up no matter how many times they fall, because with every single fall we learn something new. And there is nothing and no one. I mean, think of I'm going to use this random thing that popped into my head. Lana Del Rey, who's like a big singer, she's very respected. She had a different name. She wasn't becoming popular.
Oh, wow.
She wasn't getting to where she wanted to go, and I've never used her as an example. And then she decided to change her name and change her image because her success was inevitable in her mind.
Yeah.
And then she said, I am going to do whatever it takes, even when it comes to changing my name. And then as soon as she changed to Lana Del Rey, she became what she became. So it's like, don't, people are so married to their idea. It has to be this way. If it's not this way, this is not the way. But say, no, I want this end result. Yeah. When you say I want this end result, then you are aiming for that end result and say, okay, this didn't work out. I'm going to try it a little bit differently. I'm going to try it differently. I've been a relationship coach. I've been so many different coaches, and I've written so many different books. But the ones that stuck were the ones that just flowed for me.
Yeah.
So
being flexible about the path.
Being flexible.
But being clear on the destination you're trying
Destination. And remember one thing. Your soul, your higher self is always supporting you, but sometimes by closing doors so you don't go through that door, and sometimes by opening doors. So whether the doors are being closed or being opened, it's always your soul being your support system and taking care of you. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And tell everyone where to find you.
Okay, so my Instagram is Happy Insights Official, and my website is happyinsights.net. And my book are called The Intuition Bible, How and Why to Tap into Your Inner Wisdom, available everywhere and on audio, because I know everybody loves audio, and The Charisma Within, 15 Steps How to Enhance Your Magnetism. Just Google Happy Ali, and you'll see my whole world pop up.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.